Happy New Year, everybody. This is, I think, my first official workout of 2022. It is 6:40 right now in the morning. I just finished a squat session. I was actually up at 4 in the morning. My dad had to be at the airport, so I took him. And as soon as I got home, it was maybe almost 5 o'clock. And with so much time and I was already awake, I decided to go on a run. One of my goals, and sorry if my voice is really scratchy, it's just early in the morning and I need to drink water. So one of my goals this year is to work up to a 10-mile run, to be able to run 10 miles without stopping. Since I have a basketball background, I have some experience with running, but I feel like I never really learned the correct way to do it. And so every time in high school when I would go out on a run, I would go fast and I would wear myself out and I'd do it in a way that I would have like joint soreness like later. But there's a few things I've learned over the years about running. One is that it's all about your breathing, and how it's literally the definition of cardiovascular is how well your heart and lungs work together. And one thing I've noticed is that when my diet has been unhealthy, that it's so much harder to run, and that your whole system is taxed. Your lungs are burning, your side is hurting, your legs don't seem to work, and you can't really function. Like there's like a mental disconnect between what you want to do and what your body can actually perform. And so I've noticed that whenever I'm eating healthy is when I find it way easier to just perform the simple action of running. Another thing, I heard Will Smith say this, like scrolling through Instagram, you see all these inspirational quotes. Will Smith mentioned that if you want to, confront yourself, your inner self, like your weak, I guess the voice in you that will stop you from doing things, the fastest way to find that person is through running. And I can tell you that that's true. And I can also tell you that in the past year, I've gone through a lot, and the experiences have taught me how to separate myself from my emotions. And it's been several months, actually it's been a long time, like actually a really long time since the last time I actually went out and ran. And today, as I went out, I was expecting for it to be a way harder experience than what it actually was. Obviously, it took me some warming up. I only ran a mile just to warm up, because I knew I was going to go back in the gym and squat. And so this time I wasn't focused on time, wasn't focused on anything besides just maintaining rhythm and not stopping. And so I ran half mile down the road and half mile back. And as soon as I got back, my knees were feeling great. And so I've talked about in the past videos, I've talked about how my knee, especially my right knee, has been giving me problems. It hasn't been hurting, but I can tell that it's not working right. So I've been kind of doing some almost like some rehab, but like some recovery work with, like I talked about, my resistance bands. If you want to see that, go to the last one of the last videos. I think it should be the last video. I've been hypertrophy style training my leg, my hamstring, my quads. Not extensively, just enough to get blood into the system. Like I was talking about, blood carries nutrients and carries the the necessary rebuilding tools that will build up your system. Anyway, sorry that my voice is so scratchy. I might have to actually scratch this and maybe record it again. I don't know. Anyway, so when I got back from my run, my knees were feeling great, and I knew it was time to squat. So I opened up the garage. It was dark outside. I made sure not to be super loud. And as you can see, look how far my knees are going forward. One thing I realized, and this is as I started getting into kind of my heavier sets. Right now I think I have a 45 and 25 on the bar. I felt my back doing the same old of just kind of being weak and giving out. But for some reason, so like I felt to keep going. Normally when I start breaking form is when I either take a little bit of weight off the bar or I don't go past that point. Today I felt something different. I felt like I definitely had the strength to lift the weight, but my form was the problem. Like in the past, it's been that I had a weakness in my back, and obviously that's most likely due to mechanical deficiencies that my body has. But anyway, I decided to attack the lift this time. Instead of taking weight off the bar, I put more weight on. And one thing I noticed is that as I got to the bottom of the lift, if I brought my knees in like closer to my body, um, it's almost as if there was like some kind of mechanical release of some sort of muscle or some sort of system, and the release of tension on one side of my body made it so that that my back had to cave in to support the weight. I don't know what the deal is, but you know that your muscles are wrapped around your joints in specific ways to create leverage in order to perform these movements. So I noticed that it happened more often as I tried to like kind of bounce out of the rep, so like hit the bottom and bounce back up. But the more I tried to control it and was more deliberate and methodical about it, the easier it was to maintain my form. But as I bounced out of the hole, that is when I saw my body kind of compromise itself. And so this time I made some. I'm not even sure if I made all the corrections that I could have made, but I made sure to keep my knees out, and somehow that helped me. And actually felt pretty good. And so another thing too is that I've been doing the bar loading technique of, I guess, the pin squats for the past couple of times, and it's been working wonders. I'll tell you. Today the bar felt really light, even though like my body was might have been struggling mechanically to figure out the leverage. The weight did not feel heavy on my core. It felt pretty light and pretty stable, and yeah, I definitely saw results from that. So I would recommend that to anyone. Another thing is I'm gonna finish off this workout with the hyperextensions. If you watched the last video, you'll notice that I've been doing those for maybe like the past session, maybe the past two sessions. But that's also greatly improved my functionality, I guess, with my erectors in my spine. Um, it's helping me to keep my back upright. So all those things are working great, and I feel like I'm back on track. Except there's a little problem. Since I guess like since the week after Christmas, I guess is when it started. So two things. One is that I am new here to Florida. This is where my family lives. I just moved out here and I don't have a job. And because I don't have a job, my money is starting to run out, and I'm having a harder time buying all the food that I need to fuel my body. And the issue for me is that it's my personal goal to be healthy, and so that means that I have to support myself in doing that. And so I eat like a lot of food when I'm doing as much training as I hope to be doing. At those times when I'm doing more training, I'm eating a lot of food, and I just can't allow myself to be a burden on my family and to eat all the food that they have for themselves. And so what has to happen, I've been looking for a job for a few weeks, but because I don't have a job, I don't have enough money to buy all the food necessary. And so this isn't new. I've been here before. When I don't have food, I have to, I guess, be disciplined and maintain some sort of balance with my training. So one thing that's important to recognize if you are trying to attain some sort of fitness goal is that the results of your fitness are directly proportional to how well you feed your body. And so if you are in a situation where you lack the means to fuel yourself with nutrients, the best way to go about it, in my opinion, is to decrease your training load. And right now, my only rule, my only, I guess, structure in my training is that I don't want to go more than 2 days without a workout. And so if I can at least get 2 workouts in a week, that's enough to keep progressing. Although the progress will be slowed down, the optimal goal would be to have enough food to eat every day and allow myself to train 5 times a week, and up to 7 depending on how I feel that week. One thing that I've learned, if anything, is that your body operates on some sort of like cycling, that's anywhere from 1 to 1.5, maybe 2 weeks when it comes to eating. If you think about it, your body ingests food, and it's about a 6 to 8 hour process to digest the food. And then after that, obviously you go to the bathroom and the waste comes out. But what has to happen? There are different processes that will break down the food into like the different nutrients, and all that has to be delivered through your bloodstream. And if you think about it, this is just something I've always heard growing up, is that our bodies are capable of surviving. I don't know if it's 1 week or several weeks without food, but only capable of surviving a few days without water. So theoretically, if you were to be well fed and then all of a sudden you're to be in starvation, um, you'd last, as long as you're drinking enough water, your body will be able to sustain itself for at least a week. And sustain as in not die, and that's different than being healthy. But anyway, um, I've been thinking a lot about this, and it only makes sense that your body has the capability, and it's probably just the regular process of your body to store nutrients from food in some sort of reserve somewhere in your body, and to not exhaust that reserve in any time period shorter than a week. I've noticed this due to in the past when I was trying to train bodybuilding style, I would always be discouraged because I'd have a great workout, feel a great connection, and that's a hard part of working out, is mind to muscle connection. I would finally attain that. I would finally feel as if I did something productive in the gym, and then throughout the next week I would look at my body in the mirror, and actually it wasn't even like an illusion. My body was actually smaller, and my muscles were looking weaker than they were before I even went to the gym. And the reason for this is that you're depleting your muscles of whatever energy that they have, and you're exhausting the structural capacity of your system. And so it only makes sense that your muscles are kind of stretched out now, and they're depleted, and so they will like kind of shrink and look smaller. But what I ended up noticing, it just took several months of me to figure this out, is that if I had good meals throughout a certain week, I wouldn't see results until the end of the next week. But at some point, within that 2 week span, I would notice that I would wake up one day and my muscles would be full, and I would actually look bigger. And that was without having worked out. Because I used to be inconsistent, to the point where I would only work out once or twice a week just because I knew I had to. And I ended up noticing that pattern, is that after working out, I would look small and kind of be discouraged. And then a week and a half later, I would notice that, because throughout the last year, I've been really focused and dedicated to eating right and eating healthy. I would notice that after that week and a half span, that my muscles would be full of whatever nutrients or whatever good stuff that the body delivered, like right on time. So anyway, that applies, I guess, to strength training, where the key is consistency, both in training and in food consumption. And I'm gonna make more videos about dieting, because I think I've learned a lot, and I would say there's a lot of misconceptions that have been lies that have been sold to people from the fitness industry, and just people in general that are trying to profit off of other people's ignorance. I think it's important that everyone learns for themselves what nutrition works for them and what doesn't. Nutrition is just a lifestyle. Diet should be something that you can maintain and do every single day until the day you die. It's not something that you do for a week or a month or even 6 months. It's something that should be consistent, and should be manageable and not too stressing on your system. So anyway, hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of insight going into this new year of how you want to structure your goals, how you want to attack your workout plan. Just go week by week. If you go more than a week without eating well, your body will automatically start to decrease its performance. And one thing is that that I guess there's a difference between there's an inherent difference between being hurt and being injured, I guess, in a sense. So being hurt can just happen through day-to-day activities. It's nothing that will slow down your progress. Being injured is when your system is unable and it's literally unable to function properly due to some sort of obstruction, I guess. So you can definitely train through discomfort. You can train through tiredness, I guess. But when those issues become chronic, um, when your body literally doesn't have enough energy storage to be able to perform the movements without compromising itself, at that point you just gotta take a knee and take a step back. But if it's something as simple as like waking up early in the morning is getting in the way, or finishing your meals is kind of tough. Those are all signs of mental weakness, which we all have, and you just got to learn how to push through those things. And I'll definitely be talking more about that in other videos because it's the most important lesson I've learned when it comes to fitness. So I think this is my top set of the hyperextensions. By the way, sorry if these kind of videos are boring. I just think it's important for me to record my progress so that in the future I'll be able to look back on it. And I just think it's important at this time in our culture that people learn how to view content and take it at face value, take it by its merit, not by its appearance. So like just because I don't know exactly how to record, how to put the audio, how to talk in a helpful, inspiring way, doesn't mean that the information I'm sharing is not helpful. I think it's important that we just learn how to consume content with a goal in mind. You should never just be watching just for pleasure. At least in my opinion, I think if you're going to watch something, it's with some sort of objective. And the more you learn that skill, the more efficient and effective your social media use will be, and the greater benefit you'll see from it, and you'll see improvements in your mental health and in your living conditions. So anyway, back to the hyperextensions. One thing that's important is to make sure you're pulling the bar tight to your shoulders, to your traps. If you don't, the bar is obviously going to roll forward and you're going to compromise yourself in that. That's a vulnerable position you're putting yourself in. So it's important to maintain correct form, pull the bar tight. It's good practice for the squat, I would say. Anyway, that's been it for me. I'm signing off. See you guys soon, hopefully.